I wanted to talk about card scrapers today. What is a card scraper? Card scraper is just a piece of metal stock. A lot of people use pieces cut out of saw blades and stuff like that. You can even use something as small as a hacksaw blade if you can get your fingers on it and flex it. The piece of metal is then has an edge put on it, a rolled over edge. So what you do is you create a square top on the card by filing down the side, both sides, and then the top, and that creates a nice square top. Then you take a burnishing tool and you rub it back and forth across the top like that, and then you roll that edge over, and what you wind up with is a top of the card that looks like this, and it's got these little burrs rolled over on the edge right here which grab the material. Now you can control how much grab you get by how much you flex the card. So if you put your thumbs in the middle and then grab with your fingers, you can bend the card. The more you bend the card, the more aggressive the cut is going to be. The less you bend the card, the less aggressive the cut is going to be. So if I have a board and I have some marks on it that I need to get rid of, but they're a little too deep for just planing. So like if I planed this board and then there were still some marks on there, I've got some choices. I could sand them out. I could continue to plane it down until the marks are gone. Or I can take that small focal area of the blade, and as you can see when you flex it, only this small area in the middle is going to be in contact with the wood. So you flex the card, and then you place it against the wood where you want the mark to be erased, and then you just push the card across. And as you can see, with that big of a flex, you're getting really nice flaky shavings. And those pencil marks are almost completely gone. So we keep the card fully flexed, and we scrape away over the area until the mark that we're trying to get rid of is gone. Now, the problem with doing that is, I don't know that we can demonstrate that here, is that, no, I don't think we can. It creates a cup where you've scraped. So that area right there where we scraped is lower than the rest. In some lights and some finishes, not sure if this is going to show up, but anyway, in some lights and some finishes, those little scoops, if they're small enough and dramatic enough, can show. So what we do to get rid of that is, instead of flexing the card that much, we maybe flex it half that, and we go over the same area. Only instead of just doing that area, we do a little bit to each side. Now, you'll see that the shavings that we're getting, we're not pressing as hard as we were before. We're pressing a lot more gentle. The shavings that we're getting, you'll see they're still very fine, rolled up shavings, but they look more like dust to the casual eye. But when you examine them and press them, they're still very fine shavings. And what we've done now is we've taken that hollow from like that, and we've created it wider and more gradual. So now we'll go over, we'll not flex the card at all. We'll just place the card down, and we won't put very much pressure on it at all. And we'll just do a very large area like that. You can see we're getting very fine dusty shavings from either side, but not from the middle of our area. And that's because the card scraper is riding over that depth of cut. You can see it on the card as well. You got dust here and dust here, but nothing in the middle. So it's taken that from being a gentle swale, and it's getting rid of that swale altogether. Just smoothing it out gently so that it's now a very broad, gentle swale across the board. And that is what a card scraper is for. It's for erasing those and leaving you with a finish-ready surface. So if I wipe this off, you can see, I hope, that this area in here is smooth and not quite shiny, but it's well on its way towards being shiny. And this area here where I've done nothing is still looking kind of brown and non-shiny. If I tip this up and get the light going off it a bit, I hope you can see that this area is nice and finished and this area is not. So I'll just go over that one more time. So we flex the card a lot and we press down. Oh yeah, we have to angle the scraper. If you put the scraper vertically like this, it's not going to do anything. So you have to angle it so that that hook is catching in the wood. And that angle will depend on the angle at which you made the hook. So if you push your hook further over, you'll have to tip the card further over. Most people use somewhere between 10 and 15 degrees. So you don't have to tip the card over all that much to get a good cut. So anyway, we start with a big curve, we press down, and we take big shavings. And you can see those shavings are only coming off right here in the middle. They're piling up here in the middle, and they're very nice curled up shavings. So then our next pass is half that curve, half that weight. So we're not pressing as hard, but we're still giving it a bit of pressure and a bit of curve. Now you can see that dust that's left on the card is easily twice as wide as what it was when we did the thing. So, look at that. That's quite wide. Compare that to that. That's quite a bit more narrow. So then, to finish it off, we don't put any bend on the card at all. We tip the card over and we just put light thumb pressure on. And you can see that is taking very fine shavings. Excuse me. You can see that is taking very fine shavings from across the rest of the surface, bringing that down a little bit and just putting a polish on. And we can do that quite a few times until we get the desired polish on the surface. If you want to polish the whole surface of a piece rather than work on a focal blemish, you can do that part of the card scraper where you're not bending it and you're just taking a very fine dusty shaving just by applying a light pressure across the whole thing. A million different ways you can hold it and do that. You can do that across the whole surface of the board and have your entire surface ready for paint without ever sanding, or even varnish if you take it far enough. So hopefully you can see that part where we've just been working is much shinier than these ends where we have not been working. Anyway, there you go. Card scrapers in a nutshell.